Hiya folks, you're really welcome along to John's Garage. This week we are reviewing the Peugeot 408 which has just launched in Ireland. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, comment. I love the comments underneath the videos, so get a few comments in. Now, let's have a little look at this car and let's review it. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of John's Garage. This week we are out in a brand new Peugeot 408 GT. And this particular one is a 1.2 litre turbocharged petrol engine, and that's the 3-cylinder petrol engine, which means if you put your foot down, you should get a nice little growl. Now, that growl right now is pretty muted, and the reason for that is I just have this car in normal mode. You see, this is the thing about a lot of the new Peugeots nowadays. They come with a configurable drive mode. So let's say I want to drive economically. I just press this button. You'll notice all the lights in the dashboard, the color of the buttons changes to a nice blue. Oh, well, I call it blue. Aqua balloon or blue or marine blue is what I'd refer to it as. And I drive along and there's a little bit of an acceleration there. Okay, it's not too bad. Essentially, eco mode dulls the throttle responses, lets the steering go a little bit lazy. It's not quite as sharp. But let's say I want to engage in some spirited driving. Well, I'm going to go to sport, and sport means red everywhere. I put the foot down, and then the engine will kick down. You get a slightly improved exhaust note, and of course it holds the revs a lot longer. And I've also noticed when you go into turns, it will downshift also as well. So again, you're in the perfect gear for when you're exiting the turn. Now, the other thing this car has is flappy paddle gearbox, so I can shift down to third gear there, take off, make a little bit of noise, shift up then, and shift up again. Now, the gearbox is very responsive on the paddle shifts, okay? They do give you that extra thrill when you're driving, but I'm not going to lie. If it was just me, I just stick it in D, and I'm just going to stick it in normal, okay? Because I think that's personally where the car sits best. And again, you get these nice green lights here as well. Interior wise, what can I tell you about the Peugeot 308? Well, this is the GT line, so it's going to have a couple of nicer little trim pieces, such as this nicer steering wheel with the GT logo in there. Nice green stitching around the steering. You've that nice green stitching extends to the dashboard materials and the seats as well, and of course to the stitching across the top here as well. So it's a very well finished car, very well appointed. Another thing I love about the new 308 is the dials, okay? So it's an LCD display, but it's three-dimensional. So I'll hopefully try and get a video shot of it showing you the dials floating, okay? They float up. The warnings are active as well. So the car right now is asking me, am I okay? I don't have both hands on the steering wheel. But what I will tell you is, despite the fact this car has lane assist and adaptive cruise control and all those different things, and it's concerned about my well-being not having the hands on the steering wheel, one thing I will say is I'm not getting any warnings. Nothing is beeping, nothing is going mad, nothing is having a heart attack. The car isn't jerking the steering wheel around my hands on these country roads as it tries to stay between the white lines. It's actually a pretty cool, relaxed system that isn't going to annoy the driver, which for me personally is a massive bugbear of modern cars. But anyway, it's not happening in this one, so I applaud them for that. Next up, I haven't actually mentioned it yet, but the car is only available as an 8-speed automatic, but personally I feel that's no bad thing, as it suits the nature of the car. And what is the nature of the car? Well, I know I put it into sport mode there and all that. It's actually as a comfortable cruiser is the way I would look at it. So you might be wondering at this point, what is a Peugeot 408? We know what the 308 is. We know what the 3008 is. That's the big SUV. The 308 is the hatchback, in case you didn't know. Check out my other review on that. And the 508 and the 5008. So the 508, big saloon, it's actually liftback, and then you have the 5008, the SUV, the big 7-seater SUV. But what on earth's a 408? Peugeot essentially took the best elements of each of those. So the styling of a hatchback and liftback, the ride height of an SUV, okay, and the design language that existed across all three. So you have, what you end up here is sharp styling, in my opinion, very sharp styling for the type of car it is. Raised ride height, because a lot of drivers of SUVs will say, well, they can't live without that. And the functionality of a hatchback, okay? That's essentially what we've ended up here with. Now, I personally believe that this is the way car design is going to go. I don't believe that it is sustainable to continue building SUVs and getting high miles per gallon returns, low CO2 figures, and such and so forth, especially as we enter an electric phase of motoring, okay, with batteries. It's just the returns just aren't there. You end up with diminishing returns. You have to increase the battery size in order to get the returns, and so on and so forth. The car gets heavier, the car gets less aerodynamic, and so on and so forth. In other words, there's only so far we can push physics, and I think car design is going to start returning back to styles like this, okay? I think this is a nice little mix of, you get your nice ride height, you get your nice styling, and you get your functionality of the hatchback, okay? So that's what I believe is going on here. Now, in terms of ride quality, for this type of vehicle, it's actually pretty good. It's not choppy, it's not overly firm like a lot of SUVs try to be to counteract the body roll, and it's not overly soft. It's soft enough in that it's very, very comfortable, but it's not saggy going around bends or anything like that. It's well controlled, well dampened. I'd say all in all, a pretty nice car. Now, you can see it has adaptive lights, but the lights is something I want to talk to you about. So I actually came down last night to have my first drive of this, just to take it out and form a couple of thoughts. And what this car has, and I absolutely was blown away by this, is matrix LED headlights. So essentially, you always have optimum headlight or light range at night. So even if another car is coming towards you, the lights don't fully dip. They will adapt so that the other person isn't getting blinded, but you still have maximum light. So it's not a, we'll say, an on-off system. It's adaptive as you're driving the car. It's really, really impressive. I don't believe I've ever driven a car with it before. I was actually pretty impressed with it in this one. Okay, I thought it was a really, really interesting system. I'm not saying other brands don't have it. I just personally haven't driven them with it or experienced it, okay? Now, next up, that 3-cylinder engine and economy. What on earth is this car returning? So it's returning right now about 5.5 litres per 100 kilometre. Bear in mind, this particular car has been ragged for the last 24 hours, 36 hours on the press fleet at the press launch. Where was my invite? I didn't get an invite. Anyway, I'm not bitter. I have the car. You're going to get to see the car and everything about it, okay? So I'm pretty impressed with that. Exactly what is this car, okay? Well, as I said, it's not a 308, it's not a 508, it's not a 3008, and it's not a 508. So what is it? Essentially, 308, and that means 3008, platform that has been stretched outwards, stretched longer. So I would say in terms of sportiness, it's not as sporty as the 308 to drive. I really liked my time with the 308. I thought that was a brilliant hatchback to drive. And it's not as soft as the 3008. So you've got a better ride, I think, in this. You have better length in the chassis, which means when you're on the bad country roads that I'm on right now, it's actually quite comfortable. And when you're going around the bends, it's nice and wide, so it's nice and grippy, okay? There's no issues with grip on this particular car. Now, a couple of questions I was asked, so I put out in social media that I'm going test driving this car. If there's anything you want to know, let me know, okay? And some of you got in contact. One of you wanted to know, what's the vision like with the A-pillar as you're pulling out at a junction? I'm going to say it's pretty much the same as every other modern car. You have a great big wide A-pillar. I don't think vision is too bad, but like everything, it's not going to, I think the person commented that they had a 3-second delay viewing a pedestrian behind their A-pillar in their own particular car. I wouldn't say it's a 3-second delay here, but it's certainly a big thick A-pillar. But that, of course, is for safety, for the driver's safety cell, to protect you in the event of a very serious collision. Now, next up, the other question I was asked is, what's the towing capacity? Right, well, that leads me to another point. There's two engine ranges available in this. You can have a 1.2 litre, 8-speed automatic petrol engine, that's 3-cylinder. That comes in at 128 horsepower, and the towing capacity of that particular engine is 1,350 kgs, okay? If you up it to the plug-in electric version, so that comes with a 1.6 litre turbocharged petrol engine, along with a battery-assisted hybrid system, what do you get there? So that comes in two flavors. You have 180 horsepower and 225 horsepower. 225 horsepower is obviously aimed at the sportier driving who also values economy. So what towing capacity is there? Well, it is a massive, drum roll, 50 kgs more than the 1.2, 1400 kgs. That's what that particular one comes in at. The last question I was asked was by my good friend Bob in the Toyota plant in Burniston. And Bob asked me, what's the front end of this car made of? Specifically the bonnet. Well, Bob, as far as I can tell, it's a resin, as you pointed out in your message to me. Peugeot has a huge history of making resin panels. They're very, very successful at it. And Bob, as you can imagine, the fit and finish of this particular one is very, very good for a car that's just off the production line in right-hand drive format. So it's can be pretty hard to align those panels sometimes, as Bob will attest to. But in this particular case, it's very well done, looks pretty successful, and I would have every confidence in the longevity of it, having looked at Peugeot's history of making such panels. Other than that, driving position, you're up nice and high, you're down nice and low. Does that make sense? Okay, the ride height is high, but in the way I've it set up anyway, I'm nice and low. I feel like I'm in a much sportier lower car like the 308. Okay, storage, very good. There's this panel here which could never ever ever be advertised as being for placing your phone in, yet it's perfectly molded for placing the phone in. Okay, so we'll just say that's storage of items which may also be used for social media and communication. What else do we have? Two lovely big drinks holders. Again, all of this stuff here, by the way, is padded and lined, including the door pockets. So I have a set of keys in there and you haven't heard them rattle or bounce or anything, and I'm not on very good road surfaces. Please go back, Nissan Navara, I am coming. Don't. That's okay. Do you want to come out? It's blind. He's laughing at me. Anyway, the brakes are very good in the car. But again, back to the A-pillars. I had no problem seeing that car coming out, and I could predict well in advance what was about to happen there. And I got a big smile and a thumbs up from the farmer going about his daily business. And that's fair enough too. We all got to keep an eye out for each other. What else do we have? Listen, we're back talking about it. The fit and finish in here is very, very high quality. There is no rattles. Everything goes together very well. There's no lips. There's nothing folded up. It's a very high quality finish, which of course is what Peugeot is aiming for now. Peugeot want to get back to where they were in the past, which was, I'd say, aspirational and sleek design and svelte design. Now, the 405, I put up pictures of this beside its predecessor, a Peugeot 405 Estate, and everyone said the 405 was a neat design, and it was. It was a neat design, and it was very much of its time, which focused on smart, elegant cars. And I would say that this is still smart, and I would say it is still elegant, and still has some lovely, lovely touches, like the louvers over the rear window on the boot line, which actually look pretty cool. They're like little wings you get on a Lamborghini, a Aventador, or a Batman car, or something else pretty cool like that. But anyway, what else can I tell you about it? Space in the back, plenty. I'm 5'9". I have absolutely no issues with fitting in there. Loads of headroom. I've read some of the previous press talking about lack of headroom. I'm 5'9", I can fit in there. I'm not bumping my head off the roof. I'm not bumping it getting in the door. I'm not bumping it when I'm back in there. I don't feel claustrophobic in there. It is not like some of the competitors like a Toyota CHR, which you literally feel like you're in a cave when you're in there. And that's really it. Folks, there's loads of nice touches. I like the fact there's independent buttons for all the different functions, okay? I like the fact that they're nice and big, so you can hit them when you're driving. I like the fact that the screen is controlled mainly by two buttons on the end of the stalks. You can get all your different functions there. You can project the sat-nav up there, your radio, and so on and so forth, and your economy figures if that's your thing. As I said, headlights, absolutely amazing. Spec, price, what are we looking at, okay? For this particular 408 GT with the 1.2 litre 3-cylinder petrol engine, turbocharged petrol engine, this particular one is coming in, including delivery, at about 45,500 euros. If you were to order the Allure trim, okay, again with this engine, and again picking a colour which is not metallic, including delivery, the car will be coming in at 40,950. Now, I know when people hear those figures, because I've obviously done a couple of new car reviews at this stage, I know that people balk and go, 40,000 for a brand new hatchback, are you mad? And I would say, no, actually, I'm not mad. Rarely nowadays, not in all cases, but rarely nowadays, does somebody go in and throw down 40 grand, okay? Most people would purchase a car like this on PCP or hire purchase, or else they'll have a pretty modern car that they're trading up a couple of years to buy something like this, in which case they may buy it outright, but that's probably taking them years to get to that point. I can tell you myself, I do not have 40 grand to go and throw down on the table to buy one of these. But the PCP rates, the HP rates, they are all pretty favourable, and that is testament to the resale value which Peugeots are starting to come with over the past couple of years. So what I'd say to you folks is, if you want to have a look at one of these, again, I'm going to thank Slattery's Garage down in Puckane and Tipperary. That's slatterysgarage.ie. Right now, they have 3 of these in stock. They're all GT lines. Sorry, they're not all GT lines. They have 1 GT line and 2 Allures. Go in and have a look at them. See them, talk to them, take them for a test drive. They have some lovely roads around there for test driving the cars. Do that, and hopefully, folks, you may buy one. Other than that, adios for this week, folks. Bye-bye.